Star Wars 7x7, episode 1973. It is Thanksgiving here in the US, and I thought for a little fun I would take a look at expressions of thanks in the Star Wars movies. And yeah, let's see which ones are the most thankful, if you will. Punch it! Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7x7. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. Well, yeah, the voice sounds a little bit better, which is nice. And then I start coughing, that's hysterical. Anyway, so yeah, sinus infection, and it is now evolved into pink eye, which is fantastic. So yeah, people watching the video version of this, sorry for the eye gunk. Hopefully the glasses will keep it mitigated to some degree. But yeah, that's what's going on. It is officially the sickest I have ever been for recording the podcast in more than 5 years of doing the show. I have had laryngitis or something resembling laryngitis in the past from basically yelling at a concert or something like that. But no, this is actually the sickest I've ever been for the show. So, and for the longest time, to be sure, also, which is wild. But anyway, thank you for everybody who's had lovely, kind words to say to me and good wishes for getting better soon and all that fun stuff. I really appreciate that. And I'm grateful that you're sticking with me even through the whole frogginess and whatnot. So, classifying gratitude in Star Wars movies, you know, it's funny, I did a search online trying to find out whether, you know, anyone has actually looked at gratitude in Star Wars, and pretty much every result that came up is more about gratitude for Star Wars rather than about gratitude expressions within Star Wars. And so I thought, well, let's do something new, I guess, which is kind of amazing to think that this hasn't been done anywhere. But I looked at the scripts for all 10 of the Star Wars movies that have been released so far. And by looked at the scripts, I mean that thankfully these are all available online, which it looks like they're kind of transcribed from closed captioning, but just did a quick, Control F to see how many expressions of gratitude were in the various movies. And I thought that I would break this down by original trilogy and prequel trilogy and then Disney movies and see where the greatest expressions of gratitude were. So it turns out that it's not exactly where you would expect it to be. For a start, the expressions of gratitude in the original trilogy, the movie that has the most of them is The Empire Strikes Back. And it's one of those movies where the expressions of gratitude are not always direct expressions of gratitude. Like, for example, when General Rykian says, "You're a good fighter, Solo, I hate to lose you," and he says, "Thank you, General," well, that's a standard expression of gratitude. Then there's the, Lando's got people who can fix this, and Leia says, "No thanks." So yeah, it's kind of a rejection of gratitude in that regard. Or when 3PO interrupts the stolen moment between Han and Leia and says, Sir, I've isolated the reverse power flux coupling," and Han says, thank you very much," which I'm sure there probably is a little bit of gratitude there, but it's definitely delivered in a sarcastic fashion. Or when Han first talks about Lando to Leia and calls him, a card player, a gambler, a scoundrel, "You'd like him," and she goes, "Thanks," like that. Or when, after being shot at, the twin pod cloud car folks tell Han that he's cleared to land on platform 327, he says, "Thank you." And it's not just a simple, "Thank you," it's like, "Hey, thank you, but stop shooting at me. That's annoying." So, Empire, 13 thank yous or thanks, some variation on the word thank appearing in the script. Star Wars, aka A New Hope, only 6, and Return of the Jedi, only 4. And in fact, that one's only 2 scenes. It's the scene with Han saying, "Hey Luke, thanks for coming after me," and the scene with 3PO floating around as Luke is levitating him, and when he lands back down he says, "Thank goodness," and Luke says, "Thanks 3PO," to which he's like, "I never knew I had it in me." So yeah, a lot less by comparison. Now, the sequel, well, I was going to say the sequel era movies, but what I mean to say is the Disney era movies. So the movie with the most expressions of thanks or thank you is actually The Force Awakens. And it depends on how you're judging that. It could technically be tied with Solo: A Star Wars Story for 10 expressions of gratitude. But because of the fact that I guess in some cases there are subtitles for BB-8 so you know what he's actually saying, there are a couple of expressions of gratitude from BB-8 in The Force Awakens, and so that brings the number up to 12. And BB-8's expressions of gratitude are actual genuine expressions of gratitude, but there is sarcasm in here as well, like when Finn tells Rey that she's been marked by the First Order because she's been seen with him, and she says, well, thanks for that, which obviously is not really being thankful. And there are also just genuine expressions of gratitude, like when Leia says, thank the Maker, Han did it, for getting the shields down, and for various people helping each other, Rey saying, thank you, my friend, to Finn before she takes off to go find Luke. But probably the most heartbreaking thank you of all of them, kind of maybe second place. Okay, I'll give it second place. The second most heartbreaking thank you in all of the 10 movies, I would say, is the thank you that Adam Driver delivers as he stabs Harrison Ford through with his lightsaber and thanks him for helping him do the thing that he knew he needed to do but didn't know if he had the strength to do it. So yeah, that was a wrenching thank you, to be sure. As far as the other movies, Last Jedi and Rogue One actually tie Return of the Jedi with the lowest thank you quotient of all the movies. They are both at 4. And the prequel trilogy actually has, I think, more expressions of gratitude than any of, the rest of the sets of the movies, which I would not have expected. But yeah, there you go. And we'll talk about which one of the 3 is actually the most grateful movie, if you will, after the break. Stay tuned.
Hey Rebel Rouser, I've made some changes to the asteroid belt level at patreon.com/SW7X7, and they are all with sponsors in mind. So if you want to get the word out about your business, your product, your service to a dedicated Star Wars audience, then please check out patreon.com/SW7X7 and look for the asteroid belt level for details. Again, that's patreon.com/SW7X7.
Welcome back. So, of the prequel era movies, Revenge of the Sith least thankful with 7 expressions. Phantom Menace comes next with 9, and so Attack of the Clones with 14 expressions of thanks or thank you or variations thereof is actually the Star Wars movie that has the most expressions of gratitude out of all 10 of the movies. This is definitely not the one I would have expected, but the expressions of gratitude in there are mostly just very polite expressions of gratitude, transactional ones. Like, for example, when Padme leaves the offices of Chancellor Palpatine at the beginning and says, thank you, Master Windu, or when Obi-Wan is accepting a drink at the bar before the guy sells him death sticks or tries, right? Or when he gets a cup of Jawa juice at Dexter's Diner and says thank you to the waitress when she offers it and thank you again when she brings it, or when Anakin gets a drink on the transport ship. There are all of these, very transactional expressions of gratitude. But there are 2 significant ones in the movie, one of which is Anakin talking about how thankful he is. He is truly thankful to be Obi-Wan's apprentice. That's, of course, delivered with a but coming right after it, and talks about how he's already beyond Obi-Wan in a lot of ways. But as much as it kind of undermines the expression of gratitude, I still believe that he is actually thankful for Obi-Wan's tutelage. And the most heartbreaking expression of gratitude, at first I was like, maybe the Kylo Ren thing, but no, I think it's this one. It is the thank you that Klieg Lars says over the grave of Shmi Skywalker. And he says to, the grave that she was the most loving wife a man could ever have, and it's a very sad scene. And to see, this man who, went out with 30 people to try to rescue her and was only one of 4 who came back and lost his legs in the effort, and just how heartbroken he is about not having been able to save her and not being able to keep going out again, knowing that he, can't do anything in the state that he's in, is just, it's wrenching. And so, I would say that is the toughest, most heartbreaking expression of gratitude in the Star Wars movies. And I guess, one of the most beautiful ones is Han saying, for me at least, in Return of the Jedi, saying, hey, Luke, thanks for coming after me. Now I owe you one. He's been sarcastic with his thank yous a lot. When they get away from the Star Destroyers in A New Hope, and he comes in where they're playing chess and practicing with lightsabers, and he goes, don't everybody thank me at once, right? Genuine expressions of emotion from Han don't happen that often in Star Wars, but that was a beautiful expression of thanks in Return of the Jedi. And so there you go. Those are, my rundowns on expressions of gratitude and thank yous in the Star Wars movies. And before I wrap this up, I just want to say thank you for joining me, whether you're joining me every day, whether you're batching me and listening to me once a week or every so often, whether you've just been listening for the past few days, weeks, months, or whether you've been with me for this entire crazy 5-year plus run. Thank you so much for being a person who makes this show possible, who makes me want to do this show on a daily basis. I'm very grateful to you. And I hope that even if it is not Thanksgiving wherever you are in the world, that you have a wonderful day. And if it is, well, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. But either way, may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
This podcast is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox. It is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other related Star Wars items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2019 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.